Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's April 2nd, 2024. This is the NDA Podcast. I am Rob D, aka Sketchcraft. How you doing? I am working today, but I decided I'd like to work and hang out with you. In order to do that, well, one, I have to work on projects that I can't share. Visually, can't share them, but I can talk about them. I'm working on Spawn Kills Every Spawn, a 5-issue miniseries coming out this summer 2024 from Todd McFarlane, and I cannot stream it. But behind me, I'm going to stream some art that I did recently ago, a Megazord drawing cover. Let's go ahead and put that on. Let me turn on Little Rob. There's Little Rob. Get rid of Big Rob. And we're going to put on, there we go. There we go. We're going to put on the art. So this is a Megazord digital drawing that I did for a commission. This is a little roughie I did. And then you'll see me turn the opacity red and then draw right over it and get the whole thing done. It's going to go through the drawing and then the inking. I kind of do this all at once now, but you'll see it. You'll see it. So excusez-moi. All right, let's go ahead and promote the show. I'm going to go on to Twitch and take a little snap really quickie here. Let everyone know we stream. We stream. There we go. How y'all doing today? Y'all drawing? Everyone drawing? Time to draw, right? Time to draw. All of the brushes that I'm using for this, by the way, are available on my site, sketchcraft.com. So if you're like, hey, I'd like to do it, they're about $10, and that's because I made a ton of modifications to all those brushes. And you want to hook Rob up with the, little low carb shake. That's how you can do it. We streaming. I know I gotta. Man, my phone does not move very fast. As always, folks, if you want to talk about anything, just go ahead and leave me a comment. Leave me in the chat, leave it in the comments below. I will always get to it. There's no fast way to do this, folks. You know, I just realized today, I was talking with a guy on Twitch, on Threads, actually. What's his name? Zhao Sousa Art? Zhao, Joaosousa. He's a sculptor, digital sculptor. He did a lot of the Q-figs, right? If you know quantum mechanics, Q-figs and stuff. I have so many other things. I have like the Big Trouble in Little China, the Rocketeer, the Darkwing Duck, a few of the Batmans, the Joker with the little helmet. I got so many of those things. And he sculpted them. I didn't even know, man. So I found his art, and he was letting me know that Q-figs kind of went out of business or were bought out. And what a bummer. They really were my favorite. They really were. I really loved the little dioramas. I thought they were the perfect size, you know? And the shape design and everything, it was so good. So good, man. So good. All right. I think that's it. Perfetto. We can get to it. As you may or may not all know, yesterday was a tough day. Tough day. Not a fun day yesterday. Anyone wants to talk about you know what I'm talking about? We'll talk about it. If not, I'm going to move on, you know, because it bums me out. It was not an easy day yesterday. So I tend to start with faces as soon as I can with anything, by the way. Once I feel like I can see the character, then I feel like I can draw the rest. So I try to start with the faces. And with this particular stuff with the Power Rangers, I was trying to give it more of a energetic feel, and less of this was like, looks just like if it were licensed by Bandai, you know, like, no offense to Bandai and Saban and all those cats, but like I just feel creatively the designs have been kind of like uninspiring for the last 30 years. So that's me. So I was like, hey, you know, I'll put my own spin on this stuff. For good or for bad. That was the goal here. To give that a shot. Alright. Today I'm working on page 19. I should have been done with this, but yesterday I did not get any work done because it was a depressing day. Real depressing. So I'm trying to get this done. Page 19 of issue 4. Just got a bunch of characters to draw. Bunch of characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 characters. That's just in one panel. And then I got a big shot and then another tiny shot of a couple characters. That one's pretty easy. But that is the deal. Okay, Simon. Let me put this on. I have to see where I was the last panel. That figure placement, and I'm like, not working out. Get the right figures in the right spot. Yes, I did. Okay. Whoa. turn on this. Record. So I got to record my screen that I'm drawing spawn on, so I have these videos for later. Ah, man. Spring allergies. You can feel it, right? Is it getting any out there? It's getting me. I can feel it. Big old sword, big old sword. That's flickering. No, it's not. Down onto it. All right. You want to clarify too, folks, like while I'm working on secret projects, I just stream previous art behind me sped up. This is about sped up 3 times. I've had some friends get a little clever about this, and they go, these are fake streams, Rob. Yeah? Not really gonna draw live. I'm like, no, all this art was drawn in real time. It's on my YouTube right now. You go right into YouTube playlist, real time or live, however YouTube works that out. It's both. You just type in Megazord, comes right up. It's all there. But with the way the algorithms work, I can't play this game where I disappear for a year on end while I work on projects. So I did it with Crash and Spyro, and I did it for a year on Spawn, and I'm just not doing it anymore. I like to hang out with you folks and chat and talk about art. But I also need to show art because that's what my YouTube channel is already built for. Showing art. If it's just my head, it will not share the videos at all. That's the way it works out. I don't think anyone should ever feel bad for promoting their own work, you know? Neither should you, you know, if you put up a video, speed video, something you've done in the past, you know? Put it in real time if you want to put it in real time, however you want to do. But this whole idea that we only get to show our art once, and if no one ever saw it again, and oh well, you know, I'm not playing that game. So many people that follow me don't even know I've ever drawn any of this stuff. So, from here on out, from now until the day I exit the earth, I will be doing this, you know. I will also be streaming live, you know, when I do new art, when I can, for certain. I love that part too, you know. It's always fun. I mean, I'm literally drawing right now while we stream, so, you know. And we gotta do what we can to beat these algorithms. You know, they're gonna keep changing up, you know, and they're not gonna consult artists or care, whatever. So sorry, I just got an email from work. I gotta like reply really quick. Always right when I start, right? Like, hey, I try to turn off email while I'm working, but like I was going to go just hey, promote really quick, and then it came across, and I was like, alrighty. I got a piece of art going into a magazine soon. So they were on banking holiday. Okay. Now I'm gonna close my email off. I gotta work, man. You guys. These guys. Hey, Steven, for some reason, your question wasn't coming through the multi-stream. I just saw it now. Sorry, Steven. Priscilla, what's it like working with talking in front? Well, it's nice. He doesn't bug me much. You know, he's more like a coach. So, like, I'll post some stuff up, and he'll be like, hey, that looks great. Or he'll be like, hey, keep this in mind. When you're doing this, you may want to think about that, you know? So it's never like, you know, it sucks, bud. Never like that, dude. He's super positive, you know. But a lot of times I don't hear much from him. I just turn stuff in and they're just like, you know, so I'm super grateful for that. Good or bad. I mean, maybe, you know, maybe they're like, let me fail or something. I don't think so. I think he's pretty happy with the work. So. I said, for some reason, the multi-stream isn't working very well, but I can see it. I have a Facebook tab. I just have to click over and check every now and then. So if you're on Facebook, just bear with me. There's no fast way to do this, is there? We're just sort of stuck all. And finally, threads. Finally. But yeah, the Power Ranger stuff that I did, some of that's going to be in a magazine soon-ish. Maybe in the next couple months. I have no idea how long the turnaround cycles are anymore. For us, it used to be like 2 months. I'd submit a magazine, it would arrive 2 months from then. So I don't know what the turnaround is for overseas, but I'll let you know more about it when it's available. For certain. We are also on Twitch, and we are on YouTube. Now I can get back to... I gotta draw... Yeah, there's some really great artists that I worked with, like Nico Salvatore. And they're always so good at drawing dinosaurs, man. I'm not really great at drawing dinosaurs. I gotta draw a dinosaur from like a side view, and I'm just like... Okay, you know? Sure. Yeah. That's Brett. That's Brett Booth's thing, dinosaurs. It's not my thing. I never once was like, I want to draw dinosaurs. Never said that. I should have told them, please don't ever make me draw a dinosaur, but it's kind of the way it worked out. What I generally will do is I'll blob in. Oh man, so hey, let me give you some advice on this Megazord. So I drew some Transformers stuff a while back, some covers like in 2017 for IDW, right? And you know, I just found it to be like I probably added way too many lines. I don't know. Robots are a lot of lines for me. Some guys like Jack Lawrence are really good at minimizing some of those lines, and I think Sean Galloway has done even a better job. But you know, I still like lines, so this was me trying to find a way to get some motion into the bots, right? So they're not stiff, you know, they're not like real stiff. The trick with this is I ended up having to do this twice. Yeah, I did it this way and then I drew it. I ink it, digitally ink it. Now I would probably take this rougher drawing and just do the basic lines with the same brush and then add ink textures on top. I think I'll end up redrawing this with the actual ink brushes. Look at that, Pinky's out. It's Rob Schrab did. Pinky's out. But yeah, it was just why I try not to draw. If I ever have to draw robots, like a lot of robots again, I want to find a way to just not do kind of lines and make it more about shape. Because like, who's that dude that was at IDW forever working on Transformers? Was it Alex Malign or something? That's so good. I can't do that. I mean, I could do that for a robot. I can't do it for like a group of them every page. Like I have no, I receive no enjoyment from drawing that much stuff. This was one big robot. It wasn't as big a deal, but you can see like I'm bending the shapes, right? Even the shoulder pads, like I'm trying to give them some motion. Even these M's, you know, it's something I kind of picked up working on Crash, was just like no straight, perfect lines. You know, everything sort of is moving. Everything sort of has almost a 45-degree angle to some extent, you know. Now I have to figure out how I drew feature. always tough when you make up a creature on a page, because then like the next 2 pages you're constantly looking back at the last page you did, and you're like, does this look like the same damn thing I drew? You know, because you know people, you know, you're gonna get those reviews where they're like, couldn't keep the characters consistent, could you? And you're like, yeah, man, there's a... And then you know, you get those cats that complain about that while simultaneously complaining all an artist does is draw the same figure over and over again. You're like, you know why? So they're always on model. In some, this would never work, but in some rando weird future, there's like an AI that says, okay, I get this far, and then it just takes these lines and makes them the way my final inks were, you know? I guess if I was, you know, good enough to get it all in one shot, but generally these things need cleanup. For actual release. For internet sketches, it's good enough, you know? I can do colors over this, but for publication, no, it needs another round. It needs another round. Like, I'll forget how many fingers I gave an original design. Did I give him 3 fingers or 4 fingers? Then forever looking back at 2 pages to go, okay, I gave him 4 fingers, right? Or 3 fingers. You know, that's all the technical stuff. I mean, that doesn't even get into like making shapes move. You know, I remember the first time I ever heard of that idea, making shapes move, was the making of Brave Little Toaster. It was like playing on the Disney Channel back when I was a kid, and they were showing how like they were making like the toasters and lamps move, but without like actually the way the lamp and toasters would move if they were lamp and toasters, not just growing human feet and walking around. You know, how they would hop and twist and turn, and then you could stretch and move them. That really got into my head when I was younger about being able to take that idea and make any object move. And it's like I'm constantly trying to do that. I gave that up. I think like early on in my career, I was like, oh, I'm just going to draw things the way they are and become a good little comic book artist. But quickly, I mean, not quickly, but after a few years of that, I was like, man, I'm just not having any fun doing this. It just looks boring and stiff. So I just one day I decided, man, I'm gonna do this the way I always wanted to, you know, and come what may. That's sort of where I'm at today, you know, like I want to make these things move, but without actually having animated them, because that's too hard. Like this twist of the foot here, like I wanted, you know, this little triceratops foot to like actually pivot. Doesn't really do that in any of the shows, you know, because it's like a suit. But when it pivots, you got to also give the face some expression, you know? Like, I would imagine, you know, these faces animating a little bit sometimes. Maybe not all the time, like they're not always moving around, but they're expressing based on the you know, if you're pushing down on the foot, that Triceratops robot's getting a little more pissed about it, you know? So that's just like the psychology of the piece. And then you get into line quality, and how you want your lines to feel, and warp, and there comes a point where you can't really talk about it. You're just like, I gotta get this done, you know? But I do think about it quite a bit. Usually like afterward, you know, like on my walks in the morning, or maybe in the shower or something. It's like, I should have done it this way. I try to do that way. Hey, what's up, Itchy? Itchy's here from YouTube. Okay, now we're starting to see both chats. Both chats. The little chat's a little glitchy today, but I'm seeing them. I'm seeing them. Who's lurking in the street? Hey, don't call the lurkers out. All right, let them lurk. I think I feel uncomfortable. So weird. I'm drawing like giant dinosaurs, you know, right when Godzilla comes out. It's like, yeah, I guess it's kaiju stuff, you know. You know, when I first took this Power Ranger commission stuff on, man, I was literally not fully committed yet to drawing the way I wanted to draw. Like, drawing what I kind of thought I had to. By the time this got done, it was like everything changed, you know? I think I even put up like a how it started, how it ended, you know, post where it was like the Red Ranger on the left. First one I drew, and then the final one I drew. This foot really threw me for a loop. I remember this now. Just trying to get the right perspective, the right curve. I don't know. Struggling with this one. She says, I love your renders of the Rangers from... Oh, thank you. This was all part of the same little commission package. I normally don't take commissions where I let someone buy like 8 characters at once, you know? But like, I'm kind of friends with the dude, so I was like, all right. And then I had no idea I was gonna like turn it into like this project was where I totally went on board with like how I want to draw all the time, you know? I started it right when I came off Blizzard, and so like my experience at Blizzard was like, all right, I need to draw the way I want to draw. I can't do this anymore. So I threw away what I had already started with this because I didn't think it went for. So you can see me. I'm going over how to bend shapes right there online. That's what that is. So, and again, when I drew Transformers, those Transformers covers, I don't really felt like I was pushing the stretch and squash of the Transformers. Can we be friends? Itchy says, holy crap, 8 character bundle. Can we be friends? Yeah, no more of those. That ate up way too much time. But, yeah. It just did a fantastic. Oh, thank you. Well, like I said, one of those Power Rangers is going to be featured in a publication here in the next. I don't know when it will, sometime this year. You know, like, so that's nice. It's gotten some attention. You know, super awesome. And like I said, like now I'm drawing way more complicated. Like I think all I gotta make certain I do now is that I don't parody this stuff. Like I don't, you know, I'm not taking all these stretch and squash stuff and then it becomes like a shorthand for weird art, you know? Like that's the difficult part when you kind of have a style and the way you like to draw, always with the control, you know, like keep it like push, but also make sure it's bound together. It's just like I can imagine drawing 8 characters to fit on one page. It's a lot of work. Yeah, all the poses that you see there fit over this pose. So they all fit over this. This was originally I was going to do a whole like city background, the Sydney, you know, from the movie and stuff. But I just got tired of working on it, so I was like, you didn't pay for the background, so you get the characters, you know. So. But all of those poses for the Power Rangers fit here. I just took those poses and blew them up to individual sheets. And then I did comp one together where they're all together and just gave it to them. But there was going to be a lot more lighting and a lot more like background and stuff like that. But at some point I was like, I need out of this commission, man. Like, I've gone above and beyond, I think. You know, don't you think? I've gone above and beyond. I've gone above and beyond. I need out. And not for nothing, I don't really get a lot of love from drawing the Power Rangers, but I do have more ideas on how to do like their villains and stuff, but like maybe later, you know? Maybe later. Watch, one day they'll hit me up and be like, we want you to do some Power Ranger designs over at Saban. And I'm like, ah, son of a... Careful what you're good at, folks. You know? You do something where you're like, man, that's really good. And you're like, oh, you better enjoy doing that for a long time. Itchy says, I know this year Hasbro taking a break on Power Rangers, so they announced project for them next year. Well, good for them. I have nothing to do with that. She says, I believe McFarlane Toys is going to Power Rangers. I definitely have nothing to do with that. Please do not infer because I'm drawing a Spawn book that any of this shit's connected. It is not, you know? They have their own designers and their own sculptors. And honestly, what would you do with these designs? It wouldn't make any sense to the average Power Ranger fan. They would just be like, this is a cartoon. You know, I don't know. It would have to, you know, it doesn't really go anywhere for the main collector, you know. She says, every time you see have nothing to do with, seems like your NDA is slowly crumbling. No. I would just say NDA. If I can't talk about something, I just say NDA. NDA? You can infer whatever you want from that. Are you still working on Crash? No, I'm not affiliated right now with Toys for Bob in any way. At all. I'm not working with Toys for Bob on anything. I wouldn't mind. I have no idea how I would pull that off and draw a comic at the same time. but I would try. I love working with them. I think they're a brilliant company, but I am not working with them on anything. Guys, the only thing I'm working on right now is spawn kills every spawn. That's it. It just says time to test out a good NDA. Yeah. Only project I'm on right now is I cannot draw a comic and do anything else. I'm not even taking on commissions right now. So yeah, drats. But the NDAs, you know, it's for also future stuff. I will be doing future things where I can't even mention. I mean, I assume I will. Maybe I won't. And I'll retire the NDA and just work on my own projects live. If it were my own projects, I would just stream them every day to promote, you know. Unless I was working on pages I didn't want to share. If it were like my own comic I didn't want to spoil, then I would do that under the NDA, you know. But yeah, no, I'm not. Sorry, guys. I'm not working on any games right now. I'm not working on anything else. I would love to work on my own game that looks like my art and stuff, you know. So that's on my bucket list. It just says I made a lot of fun designs for Crash and Sparrow. Oh, thank you. And I had so many more I still haven't been able to share yet. I really love designing like world creatures and like random NPCs and stuff. That was super fun too. You know, that's why I was like, man, I could definitely like work on my own. You know, I could see myself working on my own game. Just, I mean, I can't code, so I would have to team up with someone to do that, right? But like in terms of drawing everything, like, cause I love doing all the other stuff, like designing the trees, designing the coconuts, designing the kinds of critters you would like, you know, bounce off of, designing, you know, carnivorous plants or buildings that have mouths, like whatever, you know. It just says even the different version of Crash with the mixed styles. Yeah, I was trying at the time. I was pitching when they were doing the multiplayer part, just different versions of Crash that you could be, right? Maybe you had a family of bandicoots, you know, that you could be. So you didn't always have to be Crash. You could be like one of like 9 different Crashes or 5 different Crashes or whatever. They never went anywhere, but there you go. Rick Sailor says, what's up? What's up, Rick? Coming to us from the YouTubes. I'm currently drawing spawn kills every spawn. I gotta promote my book, folks. Gotta promote my book. As soon as we get a pre-order code, I will start inking traditional pages from the series. Pages that they've already shown off, so I can't. I'm doing the inking of the traditional pages after I've done the pages for print. The book's 4 issues done, but I'm still drawing the interiors on my own, so I have physical pages because there's just no time for it here. I'm going to ink those. As they show off pages, I will start inking those so we can promote the book. So I can at least find a reason to do the work twice. It's always fun to just keep redoing your work. It just says, can you promote and be under NDA at the same because they already announced the project. So I can't show what I'm working on, but I can say what I'm working on. And they've already shown preview pages, and when it goes for pre-order, there will be more preview pages. So whatever pages they've shown, I could ink those to promote the book. See, that's how I do it. See how that works? Rick Sailor says, the Spawn universe is the only mainstream comics you still buy. Breath Boost Gunslinger run was awesome. Now Spawn Run looks cool. Yeah, Brett's always been an awesome artist, dude. You know, since Backlash and stuff. Come on. And he took over Fantastic Four during Heroes Reborn. I thought that stuff was dope too, like his Wolverine and all that stuff was in there. He's always been dope. I'm drawing some Gunslinger right now. Definitely get my version of that in a future issue. But Itchy, there will be days, there will be some moment, I assume, where I can't even mention the project I'm working on. See, had I thought of this a couple years ago, even 4 years ago, I would have been doing this the whole time I was on Crash. I don't know what's behind. I don't know why that icon's coming up. It'll pass. There we go. See? There it is. Click the wrong button. Rick says, you found my... Oh, Shelby is the best, dude. Shelby's the best. We need a Shelby Spawn comic for certain, dude. Hey, you know, I recommended him for when they were like, hey, you got any ideas for who might do a variant cover? I'm like, Shelby Robertson. I don't think they listened to me. I always mention Shelby to anybody. I've been following Shelby's art since I was in high school. Shelby's so great. As soon as I get some free time, I'm going to draw his character Rage Tality. Shelby Robertson, American Discord and YouTube, folks. If you don't follow Shelby, brilliant artist, digital, traditional, you name it. There's a lot more tradition. He mostly streams the traditional stuff these days. Super good. Right, he's doing the 52 weeks of fan art. You want to see him draw all sorts of stuff, from Godzilla to the Crow to Spawn. It's all on there. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow or tonight, maybe tomorrow, because it's a pretty long one. But either way, tonight or tomorrow, I will be streaming the Tails color pencil speed color. I did a Sonic the Hedgehog triptych piece a while back. Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic, and I'm going to stream the Tails part. Video's already made. Shelby's inks and colors on breath boost cover for good versus evil. Yeah. But he's not an inker. Shelby is not an inker. I'll tell him that. He's got the hand for it though, right? And since he knows how to draw, you know, like really well, I mean, part of being an inker is completing the art. So like Rob Liefeld said once on his podcast, and I agree with this, is that a third artist emerges, right? Like the best collaborations, you get something that neither one would have produced on their own. And I really agree with that, you know? Like if you saw McFarlane's inks over Liefeld's back in the day, it wasn't quite McFarlane, wasn't quite Liefeld. It was like a new thing. And yeah. That's the thing. You can see it like in Capullo stuff when he puts in his pencils are pretty loose, but they're really well done. But they're like still they're not. If you've ever tried to ink them, you realize you have to complete the drawing. It's not really complete. And I have inked over Capullo stuff on my own just to see. You know, I'm like, yep. I'd basically be redrawing. I'd be completing his art. I'm not skilled enough for that. You know, it sort of ends up looking like I drew it in some way, right? The third artist ends up being like me, and it's like, I don't think I'm good for that. You know? His art's so good, I don't think I should be doing that. But Shelby can do it. I mean, he came from Extreme, dude, right? So it's like, I mean, the dude learned so much there, and it's like, you know, and he's super like, he's the kind of guy who like analyzes things. We're very similar in that way. I mean, had I been able to work at Extreme, you know, in the late 90s, I have no doubt I would have picked up a lot more of that skill set. But I'm not. I don't really push having a clean hand when it comes to my traditional work. I let the computer deal with that, and then in my traditional work, I focus more on gestural and you know, color. See here, like I blob all my details in, dude. Like I paint them in and then draw over the blobs. Right? And here I'm just working out the perspective and scale versus endlessly redrawing this or putting in thousands of grid lines. Like this is just catered toward how I think. So, and now I'm mirroring the other side and figuring out which part to stretch, which part not to stretch. Yeah, I mean, inkers, they got to be really aware of surfaces and three-dimensional curves of surfaces. And when they're adding, especially if you're adding tons of texture, like I said, I'm curving those little like texture lines. When you're doing like cross-hatching and stuff, I mean, it's just way more complicated than people think, you know? Like, that's why so few ever really pulled it off in the 90s. You know, like when guys are like, oh, I'll copy the image style. And you're like, that just looks like a mess. Because they didn't. They copied the end result, not the process to get to the end result. You know, and I'm way bigger on like the process to get to the end result, not the end result itself. Because if you understand the process, then you can mold it and cater it to your style or to how you would prefer to do something. But if you're just trying to achieve the end result, then you could fall into the category of parodying yourself. Parodying yourself. But here, like not giving like these little like connections you see here, I could have drawn these circles perfectly, like got a little, you know, ellipse tool or whatever, but I don't want that. I want, like I said, I want more of those Crash Bandicoot style lines where it's Chuck Jones, where you're bending and shaping goes to fit each one. Nothing's ever perfectly symmetrical. Nothing is ever perfectly the same. And it just makes it look like it's moving. Itchy says that they love Shelby's work. He's a well-rounded artist. You cannot deny his top. Yeah, he's top, and he's a cool dude. You know, like Shelby and I just would make friends at. I used to go to these Arizona conventions in, you know, the mid 2000s, and then he'd come by the booth and talk to my publisher, and then he'd see my stuff and goes, "Oh, Rob, you're pretty." You know, like, he would just be real complimentary, and I'm like, Shelby, come on, Shelby, I've always been a fan of your stuff. I'd mention Crypt, and he'd go, "No, please don't mention that." Drew that when I was like 16. I'm like, come on, man. It was a dope comic. So, I think I impressed him once because it was like a week ago. He was complaining about the Gem sketchbook covers, right? Gem, the holograms. They have these really shitty covers, and it was making me laugh because I remember the last time I saw him at a con, it was in Vegas. I had just colored one of those Gem sketchbook covers, and he was like, "How'd you get the color on there? Like, how did that not come out like crap?" And I explained to him about distress inks and stuff. The drawing was okay. I mean, I did it like in 30 minutes, but the color work was pretty good for the condition those sketch covers were. Those are really bad sketch covers, like tissue paper almost. I think he's a little batshit crazy when it comes to sketch covers in terms of grading. When he's like, he won't touch anything less than a 9.8. But you know, we all have our quirks. You know, it's a little madness to me. Like, none of those original pages of the Dark Knight, very few of those are 9.8s. You know, there's coffee stains on them. Corner, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the whole CGC. I don't see how CGC these days is any different than Wizard Magazine and overpricing or overvaluing collectibles during the whole speculators market. You know, I'm not really seeing a big difference there. If it gets artists paid more, then, you know, who can argue with that? But at the same time, if you're like having to like work on things with like forensic gloves, and I'm like, nah, that's not art to me. You know, that's, you know, he can do it, I can't, for certain. Yeah, Rick is laughing. Laugh emojis. Rick says, I've sent pics to Shelby of blanks from local comic shops that I wanted him to do, and he said the cover wasn't up to his standards. Yeah. 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 You gotta love that, right? Like, that's hilarious. Yeah, he and I are two different people in that, you know. I have all my original comics, and believe me, they're not in great shapes. You know. I have sketch covers just lying on the floor, and I'm like, yeah, one day maybe I'll draw on those, maybe I won't. I like the way the sketch covers look when they're done, because it feels cool and like it's like a real comic with painted art, but at the same time, I also prefer to just draw and paint on my own materials, you know? I'm always of like two different minds about it. Ray says the biggest scam from CGC is the more valuable your book is, the more you have to pay. Oh crap, really? How much does a 9/8 sketch cover cost you to get graded if they grade it? Like, let's say you gave them a book and it was a 9.8 and you gave them like basically the exact same book. In your mind, you can't tell the difference, but it's given a 7. What's the difference? Roughly, like, it doesn't have to be a real price, but just what would be like the difference in price? Because I've only had to send stuff to CGC a couple times for people, you know, and I never paid for it. They did. So, like, I wouldn't even know. You know? Because I guarantee you, if Wizard Magazine had figured out this whole CGC grading scheme in the mid-90s, you know, like, believe me, like, that would have revolutionized all that speculator stuff, right? Like, you know, they would have leaned into that. Rick says the biggest scam from CGC is the more valuable your book is, the more you have to pay. Right. Oh, he never. Okay. Hey, Mandikas. Mandikas is editing video. Good to hear. Growing horns. Rick says the fees don't really matter until your books are in the thousands. I see. Lower price books are under 100, probably no fee, but something like a Superman 1, they'll determine value and charge you. They charge you a percentage to increase. I see. I bet you Garib Sheamus and the whole Sheamus family are wishing they thought of this, right? Back in the day. If only we thought of it! The old blob and draw. And this cat is like the closest thing to drawing a Voltron in this whole piece. Constantly flip the art when I work, folks. It means if your publisher, not that this is getting published, but if your publisher flips the art, then, you know, it's never going to look the way you wanted it to, but it will look less messed up if you at least flip your art a couple times, you know. Especially during the construction and line art phase, just draw some of it and then flip it, draw it, and then flip it and draw it, and it will sort of like all line up. Funny, man. I'm over here like, this is when I was getting a really good feel for how to do this digitally. Like normally I draw the mechanical stuff on paper, super easy. Usually I found it always more difficult. But I've gotten so used to like these drawing tools now, and they kind of like how I want them to work, that I'm like, oh, no big deal. What I'm doing now is way more complicated. Like this is, I'm looking at this like, oh man, this is way easier than what I'm currently drawing. Like, this is nothing. Especially just in terms of like bending shapes and complex details that get moved around and they're not stiff. Stretch and squash. Stretch and squash for Gundam style robots is challenging, folks. Very challenging. My intuition is to just draw everything super mechanical and stuff. Part of that comes from like my training. Like I just sort of trained by watching Scott Robertson DVDs back in 2004, like how to draw from center, and that just sort of like cemented like how I do things. But then like I was like, well, I'm not an industrial designer, so like if I'm going to draw cartoons, I need to be able to make the stuff move, and unstiffening that technical art has been a bit of a challenge. That's, I kind of like when I speak to new artists or younger artists, I try to like get them to go, okay, if you're going to do live drawing, do gestural live drawing and construction based off those gesturals. So start with your timed live drawing exercises, your timed poses, and really get gestural down for movement and action and flow. But then switch when, you know, later on, switch and go to construction, and build construction off the gestural, you know. And then if that's starting to get too stiff when you're done, you know, step and repeat. Rick says, I bought a pit number 20 9.6 for $100. The jump for a 9.8 was like 300 to 400. Whoa! You have a 9.8 comics with visual damage and still got a 9.8. Somebody's eyes were off that day. That is crazy, dude. This makes the Wizard like pricing guide just, I mean, that's insane. No book was in there for $700, right? That's so crazy. It's crazy. And Dika says that sounds painful. Oh, the drawing, the technical stuff. It's challenging, but that's what I'm doing here, buddy. That's the whole. I'm drawing what's in my head. I'm not drawing to like impress people with like my ability to draw things. Unfortunately, what's in my head is pretty freaking weird. So it's like, how do I get to that, you know? The details don't really slow me down. It's like not knowing what I'm drawing. Like even now, like if I draw a character once, I'm like, that doesn't really mean I understand that character. Like this dinosaur thing I'm drawing, I don't really understand it. So like, you know, as you start to rotate characters, they can lose their semblance, their visibility, their silhouette especially. But they cannot start to look like. So that's why like some shots don't work, or in 3D movies, especially early 3D movies, they didn't look as good as 2D because a lot of characters are meant to be drawn from certain poses and angles, and especially from a keyframe standpoint. And the minute your keyframes are like, well, we just had the character run around, it's like, nah, you got to do staging to make it look right. Otherwise, it no longer looks like the character. Manika says, referring to drawing the robots in animation. Yeah, well, you know, Drawing robots in animation is not easy, which is why they do a lot of 3D now. But you go back and watch those like Gurren Lagans, man. You know, even the I really like the way they designed the robots in Darling in the Franxx. I just felt like Promare. See, Studio Trigger put out 2 movies. They put out Darling in the Franxx and Promare. And Darling in the Franxx was a series and Promare was a movie. And I felt they should have been flipped. I thought Darling in the Franxx should have just been a movie. It was a simple story with some cool character designs and likable characters, but the story did not sustain the series. Promare was excellent characters and a great world. It's too short. You know? Would have gladly taken a whole series of that scenario. This is me trying to make sure that all the details are there, but that they're also like stretch and squashy. Not too stiffy whiffy. And Nika says, it feels you need a degree in engineering to do something like Transformers. A lot of those cats used to get in Japan. No, not the animators, all of them, but a lot of them used to draw technical illustrations for the Japanese military. Like Masamune Shiro was one of those guys. He used to draw like in TMs and training manuals in the military. Everything was hand drawn. A lot of those guys had that kind of like skill set, you know. Then, you know, you go to the area of, and you could really see like the fight between Optimus Prime and Megatron and Transformers the movie. I mean, that's stretch and squash. That kind of stretch and squash with technical art did not exist even at Disney at that time, you know. Like that fight is really well animated. Kickstarter says, what's my favorite thing to draw? What's my favorite thing to draw? My favorite thing to draw. I don't know if I have a favorite thing to draw. And to be honest with you, I don't think I have a favorite thing to draw. I find drawing to be difficult. Put it that way. There's no fun in drawing for me. Like when it's working, then it's like, oh hey, but it's just exhausting work. I don't find drawing. It's necessary. Like, but coloring is fun for me. Especially like color pencils and stuff. That's fun. And I could do anything. Fruit, Superman, doesn't really matter. But drawing and figuring out the shapes is fun. Like designing things is fun. I enjoyed really enjoyed figuring out like level design stuff. So like in video games there's this part called ideation. So it's a phase of pre-production where you sort of like just conjure up anything, what the project could be without any like real rules, you know. Generally there's like a guideline. Sometimes there's nothing. Just like give us your random ideas. And so conjuring up like, here's what a level would be like, and here's the villains that could be in the level, and how it could work into the story, and that kind of stuff I really enjoyed doing. And I really kind of developed a process for it on a project that was canceled. I'm hoping like one day I'll be able to show that stuff, but I found that to be really fun, like coming up with the level, the theme, the motif, and starting to design not just enemies and NPCs, but all the little elements that would go in the level that would help tell the story. So that would be my favorite thing to do. You know, I really enjoyed that part. I don't think my art is really like the kind that you put next to one piece and go, okay, Rob's really good at. I'm good at like figuring out a whole lot of wide. Even the people that I worked with at the time were kind of like, they hadn't seen that from me, and like I was really pushing to make sure that was evident as we were moving forward with other projects, because I was just trying to play catch up for a couple years, you know. Every now and then you'll see me like, I haven't done it in a while. Every now and then I'll start making these posts where like I'll like freeform on a page, like I'll draw like, give me the origin for Power Rangers, and I'll just kind of draw it out, but in a real like more of like a mind map way, more like did you ever watch Mark Kistler in A Secret City? Kind of like that. I'll lay it out something more like that. Sounds weird. That's fun to do. But if you're asking me like, oh, I thought you just meant like a character, I have no favorite characters to draw, you know, because I just think every one of them requires a certain level of like effort for me. Like they're all sort of equally challenging. I have things I don't like drawing, you know, and Transformers, in the way in which I have drawn them in the past, is definitely one of them. I would have to figure out a new way. It was not fun to do. I'm not cut out to be, you know, Dreamwave artist. You know, that's not my specialty. Don't really have character reference for this. Rick says, no, I really meant what you enjoy. But you answered my question. Okay. I answered it. Yay. Which ones? Which ones? Did I forget stitching? I need to check. I think I may have not. Oh, I did add stitching. I see. Okay. Like, sometimes I like to figure out how to draw what it's like to play a video game level, like on one page or 2 pages. Like, how would I draw plain Star Fox? You know? Not, like, this is stuff that I want to work into, like, future personal projects, you know? Not trying to draw, like, Star Fox like a cinematic movie, but, like, what's it like to draw playing the game? Dude, this stuff is so weird that when I bring it up to publishers, they're just like, we don't know what to do with this. I'll have to do it on my own, you know, for certain. This isn't something I can pitch, you know. But I've put examples over the years, like in my socials and stuff. I just didn't have a really good way to bring it all to final. It's between this Power Ranger stuff and the Spawn work, I've really been like figuring out, okay, this is how I have my digital ink set up. Figured out my digital drawing setup. I was never really comfortable with drawing digitally. I could do it, but it was like a brute force. I was forcing this stuff to get done. Never very intuitive. Now it pretty much mirrors how I draw in real life, just with better control. Yeah, that's me using the inking brush. Using the inking brushes the entire time. Now I draw it, generally speaking, I draw it with the same brush you saw before, just with the second pass, and then I'll add inking brush texture. The reason for that, like, this is fine, but I found that when I was doing panel work, I'm like, I don't need to redraw everything twice, and the textures weren't lining up. And two, when I was moving fast during the inking phase, the inking brushes behaved differently, and they started to create shapes that I did not like. The shape was overtaking the function, the form. So what time is that? I'm not even doing an hour and a half. Oh, 2 hours? 2 hours, and I got another hour and change to go. I need to get up and stretch my legs, folks. Give me like a 10-minute, all right? The video will keep playing. Alrighty. I got an hour here to finish. Let's see if I can get this main character done. So I can get all these other characters taken care of tonight. Final tomorrow. Yesterday messed up my whole thing. Tragic events of yesterday really messed up. See, like this right here, this have an outline and fill in. I don't have to do this anymore. I found that if I just draw it once with my normal brush, then I use adjustment layers to turn it to ink, and then I can do my ink over this and then fill in any or tighten up lines the way you would with whiteout. This is not how I work right now. So similar, but it's not. So you know, you do it the hard way, and then you figure out the thing you can do to streamline. Motivational music here. Maybe hit go and ooh, that'll do it. Okay. Now I'm going to flip canvas horizontally and draw this figure from the other angle. I use Lazy and Uzumi Pro when I'm drawing digitally, and I'll generally sketch at 14 or 16 on position smoothing. But when I go to draw, I set it up to 24. When I draw and ink, flip it, and I already noticed there's some issues. Flipping your art helps. Come on, Photoshop, think. I prefer to draw at 130% to 150%, which is about, you know, what I would print out a thumbnail anyway, so. I'm drawing fast right here, even without the speed up, I can tell you. And so I just found out with that, I found it's just better to, the inking brushes can lead me to shapes I don't want. Jordantium 509 says, hello everybody. Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? How you doing? I am currently drawing Spawn Kills Every Spawn comic book coming out, comic book miniseries coming out this summer. And behind me, I'm showing a video of a Megazord I drew earlier last year. Jordantium says, hey, Sketchcraft, I'm a fan of your art style. I think it's very unique. Thank you. Really appreciate it. This is very much how I've always sort of wanted to draw. Took me a long time to get there. I do appreciate that. Thank you. What I do love about having solid lines and not just using like sketch lines, which I've done before, like even digital sketch lines, is I can trap these lines. I can do cell shade, like trap them. And with just using sketchy lines, can't do that. You got to paint over it, or I love color holds. Love them. Love color holds. A little tedious to do, but I just love the way it looks. Jonathan 509 asks, what artist inspired my work? So, you know, I learned shape design from reading Garfield comic strips, Jim Davis. Bill Watterson's probably, you know, a big influence on me for certain. Especially with the way like I use inks, black lines and stuff. McFarlane was a huge influence, you know, for certain. Carlos Maglia was a huge influence. Jeff Smith was a huge influence for me. Sam Keith. Keith Giffen. Emperor's New Groove. Emperor's New Groove. Chris Sanders. Animators and stylized comic book artists. That's it. Bruce Struzan with when I do color for certain, especially traditional color. Using color as a texture. Here's a name you may never have heard, Mark Kistler. How I learned perspective and creative drawing. I was in 6th and 7th grade. Ankama, French artist, Akira Toriyama. Mostly with like Chrono Trigger. Versus one of his favorite movies too. Yeah, I'm a big Emperor's New Groove guy. Where'd they go? Are you kidding me? I was drawing on the wrong layer. We gotta fix that. We got to fix that. And Ankama. I got so many influences, dude. There's no like one or two. It's just this smorgasbord of stuff. You know? Every so often I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. Why don't I try to do some of that? You know, and then eventually it works into the smorgasbord of stuff that I do here. And sometimes I just don't do stuff anymore. Happened. I'm like, I don't like the way that's going. And it says, lately I've been looking at Leonardo Castellani. Yeah. Leonardo Castellani. Yeah. Animated Disney style artist, right? He worked with, there's a guy I worked with in the past called Kevin Grievous. He created those Underworld movies, and Leonardo's drawn some stuff for him before in the past. I think it was like a Valkyrie comic or something like that. It has that classical Disney kind of look to them. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. I'm trying to draw this dinosaur in one pass. One cleanup pass, not two cleanup passes. That's where I've been trying to get a lot of this. Sometimes with the main characters, I need two cleanup passes. Especially like Spawn and Gunslinger, because I stress, and Medieval Spawn, I stress over people's reactions to that. But the other stuff, I try to get it down to one pass. But if it doesn't look good, I'll give it the second pass. I'm not gonna be like, whoa, I was trying to do like. Not perfectionism. Did that actually? Is it a discernible difference? You know, if it isn't a discernible difference, then great. If it is a discernible difference, you know, the problem, I'm gonna fix it. You worked on the animated series Superhero Squad. One of your favorite shows. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, he's super good, man. Super good. I try to make things move in one drawing, so I don't have to do the other 23 or 11, depending on how it's animated. Sometimes a reduction of quality doesn't matter too. If it's like, you know, interior page, you know, you can be like, it's not noticeable, you know. Not every page has to have the cover quality like stuff, but you know, I think you got to do it the hard way first, and then figure out through experience where that line is for yourself, because it differs with everybody. Like what you're seeing here, this type of inking, I can do this all with my main regular diamond brush now, and then just do my thick and thin and texture details with the ink brushes. I don't need to do it all like you see there. Although I have found that when I'm drawing tiny things, it's better to do my cleanup pass with the inking brushes, because my sketching brush doesn't translate very well to the smaller details. Jonathan says, have you published any art books continuing your work? You're interested in Nope, I have not. As soon as I'm done with Spawn, that's coming. I'm going to kickstart it. The problem is about 10 years ago or so, I did this Kickstarter with some prints and a video game magazine book I was working on, and my business partner stole the funds. So I had to spend years paying all that off, and I refused to do any other Kickstarters until that was all fulfilled and paid off and blah, 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 blah. I took care of that in 2018, 2019. And then I was just working on video game stuff for a number of years. And so I was actually starting to lay out my art book when last year when Todd McFarlane hit me up to draw Spawn. So I can't lay out and put together the art book and run a Kickstarter and all that stuff while I'm working on a comic, dude. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you can, or any of my socials at the very least, because when I do start working on the art book again, I'm going to be streaming the laying out of all of it. And it's not just going to be like white pages. It's going to be really graphic design heavy. It's going to be super awesome. It's going to be worth owning. So that's coming. But yeah, that put a damper on my art book plans for a number of years, you know. But it's going to have everything in it this time. I can assure you that. As well as like tips and blah, 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 blah. You know, all the stuff. All the stuffs. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. I stream so much, folks. All of it you see back here, this Megazord stuff, this is all streamed in real time. So it's in my YouTube live playlist. If you just, a real-time playlist, like you just search by Megazord, you can listen to all these live with all my conversations and stuff too. But I just speed them up for this stream, you know. And soon enough, we're going to be doing something called Sketches at Breakfast or Sketches at Dinner, where we'll be able to do more design-focused stuff and workshops. And maybe I put up a picture of someplace around the world and we draw it. And then we learn how to do stylized versions of buildings as well as construction and all that stuff. Like, I am actively working on how to get everything more engaged. I just spent the last year, though, like, figuring out how to do this comic stuff the way I want to. And now that I got that worked out, I'm like, all right, now we can layer back in all the other stuff. These streams right now you see is like a product of that. I was like, I need to be able to stream again and talk to folks and show them my art. I cannot show them the art I am working on. How do I do that? Ta-da! So sorry to hear about what's happening with your business partner. You are one of the subscribers. You're like, oh, thank you. Well, thank you for sticking with me, my friend. I do appreciate it. And I will be streaming that stuff for certain. Yeah, I used to have Brandon on all the time, but with his new work and stuff, it just can't really happen. So I'm just doing the channel by myself now, you know? So... But I've already got all the pagination worked out. Like I've already done like maybe several pages. So the cover design. I have some art for the cover. I don't know if it'll be the final art, but I put in some temp art. I'm still thinking about what that will entail. I probably think I should make some new art. So I'm at the representative of, where I'm at right when it launches. So there's that. It'll have to be an original illustration because of the way, all that works. But all the fan art and the published art and stuff that I've done throughout the years will be in that. For certain. For certain. But appreciate you feeling sorry about the business. Yeah. It messed me up for a number of years. I won't lie. It really threw me off, but I worked through it. I just didn't want to go back to Kickstarter owing people things, Now, when I do one of those Kickstarters, and I will, everything will be done before I go to Kickstarter. The only thing that has to get done is sending the item off to get printed. That's it. And then obviously getting it back and shipping it. But and unless I offer, sketch slots and stuff, but we'll see. I do not know. I do not know. I'm definitely inclined to have some that come with a piece of art pre-made. Like I can do like 50 of them and then come on here beforehand and do the art. Because I like that when I did a Creature Box, did that sketchbook way back in the day, and I have that. And I got a piece of original art in that. I thought it was great, I'll probably do something similar to that. Have I seen the new Godzilla movie yet? Says Mandikas. No, I have not. I'll wait till it comes to home. I'm not going to the theater for that. Not my deal. Glad everyone's having fun though. I haven't seen any Godzilla movies since. Well, I saw -1, which is great, but before that, I hadn't seen any since the 2014. I haven't really, kind of want to see it. That's what everyone says. Although I want a giant retraction from those who are like, after Oppenheimer and Barbie won everything, they're like, see, modern audiences want new things. They don't want old franchises and mindless violence. And then here we are, the 7th Godzilla movie in like 10 years. with mindless violence. Everyone's like, I just want some mindless violence with some already. Like, there's no. What's working at the theaters right now, like, is whatever's working at the theaters right now. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it, you know? Seriously. Anyone who tries to act like they have it all figured out doesn't. They may think they do. They may feel like they do, but they don't. Period. You know, I thought that movie, just based on the way it was doing. I mean, I said on the Star Wars cast, I was like, yeah, you know, I think it's supposed to probably 60 to 70 million. I mean, around there, like, that's what I figured this kind of thing does. No one saw 80. And then they were projecting, nobody saw that. So you just don't know. You know? He's out. See, I'm doing this all flipped. And then I'll flip it back over. But if any of you had told any, but no one was saying this movie's gonna make more than Dune like a month ago. Nobody was. I watch all the stupid shows, so you know. Even we have Bespin, this guy Bespin Bolton. He's a Star Wars insider. He's really good. He's actually really good at predicting box office. He didn't have this figured out at 80. You know, I tell people I'm never good at figuring out what's gonna make money. You know, at least I'm honest. You know? Nobody had Barbie pegged at $1 billion, you know? And Nika says, probably because Godzilla wasn't as overbearing as other franchises. That makes no sense, because it just had another Godzilla movie, not but a month ago, for an Oscar, and a TV show not but a month or two ago. It's pretty overbearing. I'm telling you right now, man, there's just no reason for it. There's no overbearing with Transformers, Rise of the Beast, and nobody went to see that, you know? Wasn't that great, but neither is this movie. It was just dumb robot fun, and it was giant gorilla robot fun. So, like I said, man, there is no things right now. I feel, and I've been saying this for well over a year, it's word of mouth. Word of mouth on between friends and TikToks and all that stuff is what's getting people to like go see things, you know, like on their next door apps and whatever else. It's word of mouth. Word of mouth. You're whatever it is you're making has to gain word of mouth traction. I don't know how to do that, but that's what it needs to do, you know. That's it, man. That word of mouth is what. I've been saying that since Everywhere All at Once took Best Picture. Word of mouth is how that happened, and that had a multiverse, but it wasn't Marvel. It doesn't matter, you know. It was weird, you know. It didn't have great visual effects. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it had really goofy stuff. It's just word of mouth, man. Whatever you're making has to break through a certain zeitgeist. And I know that's making it very difficult for studios to plan for. I guarantee it. Everything changed after COVID. Everything changed. So and it may have been that you know, when people were like constantly talking to one another about what to go see, you know, like, or what to watch on TV. I don't know, man. It's gonna take a lot more money to figure out what that is, and data sets than I have available to me. I can only go on what I've observed and removing my bias, man, because, you know, I love you, but you got to remove your bias. You're always like, I don't like that, it sucks. You know, and I hear you. I was definitely that way 20 years ago. But when you're analyzing, you got to remove your personal bias as much as, it's never 100%, you know, but you got to be careful. I've never really cared if a movie made money, though, you know, like that's whoever financed it's problem. I care whether I enjoyed it or not. You know, The Crow didn't make shit in the theaters in 1994, but I loved it, you know. I saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning 8 times last year, you know, and I'd go again if it was in theaters, even though I own it. So, you know, I love it. So that's, you know, spend money on what you love, man. Tell people why you love it. You know, never try to tell someone why they should love it, though. That's where I stay out. I never tell people you should like it and what you like is done. I never do that, man. I tell people why I like it, and then I back that up with money. Like I go. I'm hoping Wilderbot's good, dude. I really am. You know. Big fan of Chris Sanders. Huge fan of Chris Sanders. Really hoping that movie's good. I don't know. We'll see. I just treat Godzilla and King Kong like I just sort of think they should exist in the eras they were created. Kind of don't care for... Like, I watched Monarch, and I didn't care for any of the stuff that existed in modern day. But I love the stuff from the 50s. So I like Godzilla monster movies and King Kong. And, like, Mandika says, it's a shame Mission didn't do well. It did good, but it didn't do what they were hoping. It felt... Look, if Indiana Jones, man, killed a lot of hype. Two things, if I had to guess, 2 things hurt Mission Impossible. I'll give you 3, actually, okay? And 2 were out of their control, and 1 was in their control. The 2 out of their control is 1. Indiana Jones came out and, like, just sort of made a collective flop. You know, and Mission Impossible was kind of, like, right in the path. So, everyone on socials was waiting to see Barbenheimer. And Mission Impossible came out in between that, and that was bad timing. Really bad. So, you know, sort of studio could have made that call, but that's the way that worked out. The other thing that affected them was they showed that stunt stuff way too early. They were showing that the motorcycle stunt like by February or March. So people sort of felt, I just feel like those who may have been wanting to go see the stunt of the movie had already seen it 100 times. You know, which honestly, it was a fun point, but it really wasn't the point of the movie. The whole train sequence at the end was really quite amazing, you know, as a whole. But they didn't have like a Burj Khalifa, whatever, the big building thing from the 4th movie type bit, you know. So there's that. And then the thing that they really could have controlled, and this is no flack on the actor who played the villain. I'm brain farting his name. You know, he's a good actor. But one of the things that got people to really go see Fallout was Henry Cavill, right? We want to see, the younger audiences wanted to see Superman fight, you know, fight Tom Cruise. The actor was, if they were gonna do an actor, a villain who existed in the 90s, right, and caused Ethan Hunt to basically join the IMF, they should have got an actor from the 90s. They should have got John Wick, Keanu Reeves. Now, John Wick versus Mission Impossible would have been a movie people would have gone to see. You know, the villain just didn't, the actor, it just didn't have a draw. You know, it's bad booking. He's a fine actor, could have played a lot of different, that actor could have played the FBI cop. You know, he could have played, you know, another supporting character. He could have played the leader of the Carrie Elwes role, but he just didn't have draw, you know. Also, every time they decided to stop calling the movie Part 1, yeah, but that hasn't anything. That's not why people didn't go see it because it was called Part 1 or Part 2. I know people like to think that was it. It's selling it on a. The problem is because it didn't do what they hoped. They're afraid that a Part 2 would mean you're forced to see. See what I mean? If everyone had seen this, no one would have cared. They've called plenty of movies Part 1 and 2, and they've done well. So, like, I don't believe that has anything to do with it. The changing of it had to do. Now, I personally would never call a movie Part 1 and 2. I'm against it, right? But it's ridiculous, you know. Plenty of people saw Twilights and Hunger Games and Harry Potter's Part 1s and 2s and all that stuff. So, that's just, you know, reacting after the fact. And pushing it back another year, so, you know. I've been doing this long enough to know the difference. But I'm telling you, that the villain not being a big, you know, actor or something the younger kids could latch onto as a, you know, or some kind of stunt. You needed some stunt casting with that one. And this might be a fourth thing, and this is just hypothetical, you know, but Macquarie, who I'm a huge fan of, decided at some point to not maintain the look of Fallout, right? And he said he wanted to go for something more classical, like Spielberg or Lucas. And I believe this film looks very much like a modern day version of the kind of cinematography you saw in Last Crusade. It looks like somewhere between Last Crusade and Hunt for Red October. It looks like a late 80s, early 90s film. It even has some of the Dutch angles that the first Mission Impossible had. But that look to Fallout was so good that I was like, you should just do 3 movies with that look, man. Nobody was asking for a new tone. Nobody was like, change the tone up. No, they dialed in with Fallout. They dialed in a look that felt like the next step past The Dark Knight, but with the 60s espionage feel. And why give that look up? I do not know. Bad call. I think it's a bad call. And he said, well, it changes based on the story. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. Bad call. You know. But the movie is a good movie. I have seen it now 14, 15 times, dude. So I'm a pretty good expert on that movie, you know. Sometimes good movies don't make money, man. Fight Club didn't, you know. Rounders didn't. This one broke probably about even, you know. So it wasn't a total loss, you know. And I'll take this over any fucking Marvel movie made in the last 4 years, you know? Although I really like Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was really great. And I enjoy a lot of Black Widow. I just, you know, The end villain, it was just basically a retread of end sequence was a retread of Winter Soldier. Another giant floating platform that falls to the ground. It's like, all right, we've seen this. But hey, people will go back and see more of the same thing if they want to. They're just gotta have to find a way to make people want to. And that, my friend, is why they get the big bucks. And we don't. And Nika says, do you think they'll sort of like a follow-up to Fallout? No, I think, man, what will they do? Will they change the cinematography for the next one so it looks more like Fallout? That is a good question. I could not tell you one way or another. I tend to think McQuarrie sticks to his guns. If he felt that, you know, that wasn't an issue, but you might. I don't know how you do without reshooting the whole movie, though, because the staging was totally different. And there was a lot of classical, like, close-ups in the last movie versus the way they shot Fallout. So it's not just like color gradients, you know, it has to do with, you know, the way they shoot the film and frame it. So it's a totally different thing. I mean, they could be shooting the new stuff all this way and then just mix it in and maybe we wouldn't know the difference. That's possible. That's a good question. Man, we're not going to know until we see that first trailer. I'm very curious to know. But I could tell you this, I will be there opening night. Oh, I can't wait. Mm-hmm. That movie does something that I love in films. A certain thing that they do sometimes in movies that I love, where the end can loop right back into the beginning and you could leave it on repeat. Shawshank Redemption does that. Rounders does that. The Dark Knight does that. The Crow does that pretty well. Ocean's 11 does that really well. Bourne Identity 1 and 2 do that. Even the third, yeah. The three Bourne Identity films, the first three do that really well. So, like, you can just leave them on a loop. The way they're set up, you know? And Nika says, I liked Dead Reckoning the first time I saw it, but what threw me off is the amount of exposition. There's a lot of talky talk, but if you remember in Mission Impossible 1, there was a lot of talky talk too, so sometimes McQuarrie does talky talk. You know? Sometimes he does really corny, like, words. Like, remember in Fallout when he says something like, Hunt is the living embodiment of, like, there's some weird shit sometimes, some corny stuff, man. But exposition, you know, look, McQuarrie's talked about exposition can kill momentum. So he's aware, if he's doing that, he's doing it on purpose so you understand these concepts. I don't have an issue with it as long as I'm interested. You know, I think maybe you're less interested the second time because you got your head wrapped around it. But at the same time, there's a lot of exposition in Rounders. You know? Like, do I need to learn how to play Texas Hold'em, you know, every time I watch them? No, but it's delivered well and I like the universe. It's not talking down to me, you know? So I have a bigger issue when films talk down to you. Like, here's a line, like, there was one line in Batman Begins that was always like, remember when the train's going to blow up Gotham Center or whatever, and there's that one guy who's like, this train's gonna blow if it doesn't go to the thing, and no, and then he does it again, and then he says it again, and then he says it again, and you're just like, okay, man, we get it, we're stupid. Could you stop that? No, please, thank you. I mean, Emperor's New Groove, a lot of exposition. It just depends. But I don't think it's the best Mission Impossible. I still think Fallout's the best Mission Impossible film, and I think Ghost Protocol has the best. That Burj Khalifa bit is their best stunt. I don't think they're ever topping that. But I don't think every film needs to be better than the last one. I just think it needs to be a fun film. You know? Kind of like when we talk about Batman movies, it's like everyone, and I think sometimes the studio is trying to find a way to make it better than The Dark Knight. And I'm like, or how to win an Oscar with a Batman film. And I'm like, could we just focus on making a great Batman film and stop worrying about trying to make it some culturally significant piece of cinema, you know? Yeah, 10 minutes. I will be back on. I'm going to leave in about 10 minutes. I got to go take my dogs for a walk and get dinner made. But I'll be back on at between 8 and 8:30 my time, MDT. And I'm going to be playing Tails Color Pencil. Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. I did a color pencil piece. I'll be playing that tonight. While I race to get this dinosaur done and get these other characters blocked in. I have to be done with this page tomorrow. Like, I have to. So just sometimes, folks, drawing all the spawns, when you got like 5 or 6 spawns to draw and they got, you know, they all got their different spikes and costumes and stuff, it eats up more time than you would think. You know, like, no, I mean, I love Ty, but like, he wasn't drawing 6 spawns every page back in Spawn, you know? So it's like, the character is sort of designed to be 1 spawn. It's enough. But when you're like drawing 4 or 5 spawns or 6 spawns, then you're just like, but it has about the same amount of talking as De Palma's. And I thought there was a lot of nods to De Palma's. I mean, not just in the recasting of Kittredge, but in the framing of shots. I mean, it has the train sequence, you know. The flashback sequence is really shot very similar to some of the, you know, Paris shots or the France shots in the first film. Would have been great if they brought Paul Hirsch back. I mean, he edited the first film and the fourth film. I made good progress today, folks. So I'll be done with this dino piece tonight for certain, and I should be able to block in half the characters, and tomorrow morning get the other half done. And hopefully by the time I stream tomorrow at 2, I'll be drawing. Man, it's going to be a push tomorrow, isn't it? It's going to be a push. It's just the amount of characters. Oh well, sometimes I get it done faster if I don't think about it. You know? Sometimes I get it done faster if I don't think about it. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me today, Mandikas and Jordantium. I got you, buddy. Sorry, my eyesight's a little blurry at this distance to the monitor. Rick Sailor stopping by. Itch the stopping by. All the lurkers and bots. I appreciate every one of you. I'm going to be back on in roughly 3 hours or 2.5 hours, somewhere around there. So yeah, between 8 and 8:30 Mountain Daylight Time. That's what I'm going to be back on. And then again tomorrow from 2 to 6. Kind of how it works. Or 2 to 5:45, because I gotta take my dogs walking, and I have to take them for fetch. They like the fetch after the walk. I don't know why. That's how they are. So that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. And I will see you all then. Thank you so much. Let's bring up. And we'll replay this again, folks. So if you want to see the real time, it's in the storage, and then we'll do speed paint with this seed draw again sometime in the future. Thank you. See you all later. Peace. Show is over.